Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. Otra vez a Spanish Nerd Livestream. Estoy muy agradecido para estar con ustedes otra vez para hablar y platicar sobre español, todo lo que tiene que ver con español y idiomas en general. Thank you all for joining and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in el mundo. My name is Joshua and this is Spanish Blueprints YouTube channel. Muchas gracias por venir. Thank you for coming. Let me know where you're from. Yo soy de los Estados Unidos. And yo he estado aprendiendo español por, yo diría, 13 años, pero no constantemente. So I've been learning Spanish for about like 13 years, but like none of that was really constant. So I took some classes in high school and then some classes in college. And then for the past 3 years, I've been learning all on my own. So ha sido una experiencia excelente, para decir lo menos. Me encanta aprender español, me encanta aprender idiomas en general, and at the same time, I'm also learning French this year. So I'm tackling that as well with Spanish. So that is something that we want to talk about today is if we are reaching our 2022 language goals. Nuestras metas de 2022. And basically, we're doing this so we can prepare ourselves for next year, 2023. So I'm always thinking ahead. So I'm already preparing my 2023 language goals. I think that's really important to do. Do a lot of reflection, especially like before the year even ends, because I know how busy everybody can be at the end of the year. So I want to start thinking about this right now. Start planning about how I want to study next year, and what are some of the goals that I want to reach next year as well. So déjame saber in this chat here. I have a little question for the poll. Are you reaching your 2022 language goals? We have yes, I am. No, I am not. I have no idea. And I don't have any language goals. So make sure that you answer that question. Also, let me know what country you are from as well. I would love to know that. You have no idea. All right, great. So I put that on there because there's been many times where I have not known if I've ever like reached my language goals. So I definitely like to talk about that as well. Why would I not know if I'm reaching my language goals or not? And then what are some different ways that we can try to figure that out? Some different methods for that. And then I don't have any. Sometimes you might not have any language goals. That's also very possible. But it's something that I would encourage everybody to do. To make language learning goals. I think they're very important. They're very useful as well, as a Spanish learner and just in general as a language learner, to help you stay focused and to help you stay focused and give you more direction. Like for me, if I don't have any goals, or for example, if like sometimes like during this year and the previous years as well, when I haven't been focusing on my goals, I don't know what I want to study. I don't know what I should be doing right now. Like, oh, should I be reading? Should I be watching a TV show? What should I be doing? So that's why I like to encourage creating language goals like this, so you can have some direction. Some things that you want to study, like for sure, and things like that. Entonces, yeah, so somebody with 2 votes. So are you reaching your 2022 language goals? We have no, I am not. And then I have no idea. Now, let me know in the chat for those who are responding. Tell me, tell me why you aren't reaching your language goals, and also tell me why you have no idea if you are reaching your language goals. Let me know that in the chat here. And then also for all those who are coming in, make sure that you like this video as well, or like this live stream rather, porque estamos en vivo. Oh yeah, then I should answer this question too. So I am reaching my 2022 language goals, thankfully. I would say like most of my goals that I made for this year, I have reached. Yeah, minus like probably like 1 or 2. So I'm doing good. Number wise, I'm doing good. But I've definitely realized that I'm going to change up my goals a lot for next year, because like the goals I made for this year were really just, I don't know, like just strange. They're mostly just numbered based, and I realized that just chasing after numbers is not always like the best thing, because I don't always have control over numbers. So let me know. Let me know if you did answer, if you that you are not reaching your 22 language goals. Let me know in the chat here why you are not. Then also let me know if you have no idea. Let me know why. Let me know why if you do know. Oh no, let me know why you don't have any idea if you're reaching your language goals. And like I guess like one reason for that is just maybe you don't know how to track it or something like that. Or it's like it's too complex for you to even try to imagine how to track. That's happened to me before as well. Like Spanish speaking fluency, like how do you measure that? How do I measure if I'm a fluent Spanish speaker? That one's kind of hard to measure sometimes. That one, and then also like your listening comprehension. Because listening comprehension is really challenging to measure and track as well. I would say, like, in comparison to speaking is kind of simple sometimes. Like, if you know, like, some grammar rules and things like that, you can kind of like kind of measure yourself and analyze, how you can do things better and kind of know what level you're at. But with listening is difficult because it's for me it seems like there's always going to be a moment where maybe you're not going to understand everything that you're hearing, whether that's a Spanish speaker in person or a Spanish speaker within a television show. Okay, Jules Leia, hopefully I'm saying this correctly. If I'm not, let me know. Leia says I'm not reaching my language goals. I have a hard time with comprehension. Yo también. Yo también me cuesta. Me cuesta comprender todos mis amigos. So, Jules, what are some of your language goals? Just last night, I was talking with some of my Spanish speaking friends. One from Mexico and then one from Cuba, and it was very difficult for me to understand them. Mostly because I just met them like a few months ago, so I'm not used to their accents. I'm not used to the way that they speak, so it's very challenging for me to understand them. But it's como poco a poquito. Jules Leah says, "I want to become fluent." Yo también. So you want to become a fluent Spanish speaker. That has for me, it's always been the goal. And what I realize is having a goal like that is difficult if you don't know what that is. For example, the past like 2 years, I've been like the past, I'll say past 3 years, my goal has always been to become a fluent Spanish speaker, but I had no idea what that actually meant. So what I had to do was actually, make that a little bit more clearer. So instead of just saying, "Oh, I want to become fluent Spanish speaker," I had to think about, what exactly does that mean? So like, okay, I want to speak with less pauses, or I want to stop making this particular mistake, or I want to be able to speak in the past in Spanish and things like that. So I started to make a little bit more specific goals to help me reach Spanish speaking fluency, and then that helped me a ton with actually reaching that goal. Because before I was just like, oh yeah, Spanish speaking fluency is just like speaking perfect. But yeah, that's como en este caso no, bueno, eso no, como no te sirve para tener ese tipo de mentalidad porque siempre como te va a cometer errores y equivocarte y todo eso. Entonces, tiene que ser muy cuidadoso con ese tipo de metas. And how are you measuring if you are reaching your goals or not? Like, do you have like a specific method? Are you tracking it some type of way, or how do you know? I guess yeah. Like, how do you know if you are a fluent Spanish speaker? That's a good question. So let's say that you know you reach. Let's say that you reach your goal of Spanish speaking fluency. You say, okay, I am finally a fluent Spanish speaker. Like, what does that look like to you? What does it look like? Like I guess yeah. Ey, ey, oh, saludo. Como dijiste, no puedo medir mi mejora. Oh, tu meta. No puedo medir mi. ¿Cómo dijiste? Ok. Muchas gracias por venir otra vez. Good to see you again, yo. Como de siempre, siempre estás en vivo conmigo. Muchas gracias. And Jules says, I understand you. I want to be able to initiate conversation. Oh, yes. That's always, yeah, that's a challenging one to say the least. That is something I struggle with all the time. Especially, I would say like the more people that you talk with as well, and it depends on who you're talking with. For example, if you're talking with someone on a language exchange application, so in that kind of setting, so like Hello Talk or Tandem or something like that, that experience, like initiating a conversation there, is going to be a lot different than when you're initiating a conversation in Spanish in person. Like they're two different completely two different ideals, two different worlds. Se me olvidó inglés. Pero eso es lo que te digo. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, ¿cómo te explico? It's like, it's different. It's like a different conversation with every single person that you meet as well. Like, like not everybody's the same, and not every single interaction that you have with the Spanish speaker is going to be exactly the same. That's something that I have noticed as well. I used to think that, I would just say, oh, bueno, hola, ¿cómo estás? To every single Spanish speaker, and then that's how I initiate a conversation. But that's not how it actually went down for every single conversation. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes they just start, talking like really, fast, and I'm not prepared for it. So there's a lot of different situations that you'll see that you're in. When it comes to like initiating conversations, but it's a lot of fun, and it takes practice. Like I still struggle with it all the time. I still struggle with it a lot of time because just meeting new people is weird in the first place. Meeting new people in general is weird, and then doing that in your second language or third language or whichever one it may be is very weird and kind of uncomfortable sometimes. And Jules, are you having conversations with Spanish speakers in person, or are you doing it online or through applications or something like that? Which one? Or all of the above? ¿Cuáles son las medidas? Medidas de comunicación. Mostly online. Okay. Joe says mostly online, having communication with Spanish speakers. And like, I guess, yeah, so let's like talk about that a little bit more. So you said initiate a conversation. So what do you think is hard about initiating a conversation with a Spanish speaker? Or I guess with whichever language. What's so difficult about it, do you think? Joseph Osia, what Spanish media do you listen to? I listen to a little bit of everything. So I listen to the Spanish music all the time. Listen to Spanish music every single day, basically all day long. I listen to la bachata, el merengue, la salsa, ¿qué más? Como mariachi, de todo. Me encanta escuchar la música latina. Like apart from like besides music, I watch the news too. I like to listen to Spanish news. I like to listen to the radio in Spanish. Thankfully, I have like radio stations like where I'm from that are in Spanish. So I like to listen to those like on the way to work or when I'm on the way or coming home from work or when I'm traveling and things like that. Joseph Ortiz. Oh, Joseph Osias says, "How long you been learning Spanish for?" So I've been learning technically since like I'll say 13 years ago, but that's like not really like constant. So like I learned the basics in like middle school, high school, and then I had a break from high school to from in between high school to college, and then for the past 2 years I've been learning by myself. So I mean, I guess it was like 13 years, like in total, but like the time that I actually had in class was probably like 6 years. So maybe like 8 years, I guess, eight or 9 years, I suppose. It's always hard for me to answer that question because I've had so many breaks. I've had so many breaks, like along my journey. It hasn't been constant at all. Like it hasn't been. I've been studying since 13 years ago until right now, just every single day. It has not been like that at all. How about you? Yeah, I see. Yeah, let me know in the chat as well. How long have you been learning Spanish for? And so far for the poll here, are you reaching your 22 language goals? We have 50%, we have 50%. Oh no, we have 60% for yes I am. We have 60% for yes I am, and then 20%, 20% for no I'm not. And then 20%, oh no, cambio otra vez. 70% for no I'm not, and 17% 17% for I have no idea. Then Jules Leah says, initiate online emails. Okay. I have family in Punta Cana. Oh, no way. In Punta Cana. En persona is more the challenge. En persona. Siempre. Claro que sí. Joseph Osia, I've been learning Spanish for 11 months. Awesome. Felicidades. Es un camino muy divertido, en verdad. Me encanta. Me encanta aprender español. Y también qué bendición que tengas familia en Punta Cana. I've never been to Punta Cana before, but I've been to Santo Domingo and I've been to Samaná. And I love the Dominican Republic. También yo he pensado en mudándome ahí o mudando ahí. He pensado en eso. Joseph Osea says, I used to get nervous, but having a Dominican Spanish teacher made me more willing to speak. Oh, that's great that you have a Dominican teacher. So what made you, Joseph, what made you choose a Dominican teacher, a Dominican Spanish teacher? She scares me. Qué loco. Mostly because she scares me sometimes. Qué gracioso. Why did she scare you though? Oh, an Italki, okay. I've never had. Yeah, that's one thing I want to try this year or before the end of this year is having is like have a conversation with a Dominican teacher on italki, because I think the only see like my italki tutors have been from Mexico and from Spain, from España and Mexico, but I haven't had any other teachers besides that. Well, I used to these are recently. I really like her. She's really good. Está bien. Me alegro mucho que estás disfrutando tu profesora and get to learn Dominican Spanish. That must be fun. I wonder how it is learning Dominican Spanish, like as a beginner. I wonder how that is. Are you learning a lot of slang already, or are you learning just like the basics of Spanish in general? That'll be interesting to know. Oh, Jules Leah, yeah, you definitely should. You should use italki. I think in the description of this live stream, I should have some of the italki tutors that I have taken. Let me see. There should be. Let me double check. And then of course, like on my YouTube channel, I have a few videos that I have uploaded where I have conversations with my italki tutors as well. Not the best, not my best conversations, but yeah, they're there on my channel. But yeah, I've been having like italki lessons all throughout this year. I've had over I want to say over 30 lessons this year. Like the first time I never really used italki like that until this year, but it's definitely worth it. I highly recommend it. And it's not something like you have to take like every single day or even every single week. You could do italki lesson, maybe like once a month or like once every other month. I think is really good just to kind of, test your speaking skills, but then also to get corrections and things like that. Like for me in my lessons, I get a lot of corrections, from my tutors and things like that. So it's a really good way to advance your Spanish speaking skills. I would say, because it's different from speaking with your Spanish speaking friends. Because like with me, I speak like any type of way. Like with my friends, I'm not really worried about like my grammar or nothing like that. So I get used to talking like that, but then I realize when I have like my ITALKI lesson, like, oh, I speak with a lot of mistakes. I'm not speaking with the correct grammar and things like that. But that's something that I definitely want. I want to have good grammar, or I want to speak with good grammar and things like that. I don't want to. Yo no quiero hablar como loco. I want to be able to speak Spanish well and things like that. Ey, yo, me sentí yo que no debería poner un idioma meta, solo quiero mejorar mientras estudiando, merrando, escucho a varias cosas en español. Es un buen punto, en verdad. Sí, me encanta el tipo de mentalidad. Yo diría que los principiantes de español se necesitan unas metas porque no sabía cómo medir su progreso, y todo es nuevo. Todo ese idioma es nuevo, entonces necesitan más ayuda, necesitan metas para alcanzar o no van a saber para dónde se puede ir. So AEAO says, I feel that you shouldn't have any like language goals. I just want to let's see, want to get better while studying, watching, listening, and other things in Espanol, in Spanish too. And I agree with that to like a certain extent. To a certain extent, I agree with it. Like I agree with it as you become like an advanced Spanish learner. I kind of agree with that because you have different like phases within your language learning journey. Like I said, like for me, I only been learning Spanish on my own for the past 3 years. So well, like I'm in a different phase. I'm in a different time in my life, than I was, 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And like with every new year and like within your language learning journey, your goals change and like the way that you are learning Spanish can change a lot too. Like the way I'm learning Spanish right now is way different than how I was learning, 3 or 4 years ago. Um, so I have my goals are definitely different from like more like a beginner level to intermediate and advanced level. My goals are a lot different than they used to be. But it's definitely a really good point, AEAO. It's a really good point. And it kind of depends on why you're learning Spanish too, right? I think that's a big part of making language goals. A lot of people they may make language goals because they have something very specific that they are trying to reach. For example, if they want to get a job or something like that, right? Then maybe they know exactly what kind of requirements that they need for the language to get a job. So in that case, they have a very specific goal in mind, whether it's like, oh, I need to know a lot of medical terminology, or I need to know a lot of terminology that is related to law or something like that. So I think it kind of depends on how you're using the language. If you are using, Spanish or any other language for just for fun, sometimes you may not need like goals because you're just having fun with it. You're not trying to really get anywhere really fast, or you don't have anything really specific. You're just enjoying it. You're just having fun with the language. Leah says, I like listening to your Spanish conversations. I like your fluency. Muchas gracias. Which video specifically? I feel like in a lot of my videos, my fluency isn't the best. But let me know in the chat, which Spanish conversations have you seen of mine? I want to have some more too. I definitely want to have some more Spanish conversations in the future for my channel. I think that'd be really cool to have. Because I have, okay, 'cause I don't have many. Like I want to be able to have like conversations more like on the street kind of thing. I think that would be really fun. But that takes a lot of effort. Oh yeah, then I forgot to check the description of the live stream. Let me double check here so I can see if my tutors are on there. Okay, then I'll put that on there right now. So you can have that. And you'll have my tutors on here. And then also in the description, the description box of this live stream too, there's a you get a little discount for your for some iTalki lessons too. So that's kind of nice. With the link that I have in the description, it is under iTalki online Spanish lessons. So if you use that link, you'll get $10 in iTalki credits after you purchase $20 worth. So that's kind of nice, a little discount. And then I just put my tutors in the description box of this live stream right now. So you should be able to see that right now. So these are the three that I've used this year, primarily. So two from Spain, two tutors from Spain, and then one from Mexico. I've had most of my lessons with the tutor from Mexico, but they're all really good. And Jules Leah says the ones with you and your tutors. Oh, perfect. I'm glad you like those. Because for me, it's like I enjoyed it, but I was struggling through those. I'm not gonna lie, I was struggling through those iTalki lessons a lot because I was so nervous during them because I'm recording myself. I'm like, oh, I have to put this on YouTube, and then I just got super nervous and I was like making so many mistakes. But I'm happy that you enjoyed them. And I've already noticed a lot of improvement already from those first lessons that I had at the beginning of this year to right now. I've already seen a lot of progress already. So that's been pretty exciting too. Because I'm way too hard on myself when it comes to my goals. Way too hard on myself. And then also Jules Leah, how did you find my channel? Let me know that as well. I think this is the first time that you've been in my live stream before, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. I think it's the first time you've been here. I'm not sure. Let me know. And then Jules Leah says, I work in the emergency department at a hospital, and we get a few only Spanish speakers. Oh wow, okay, that must be really interesting. And do you guys have translators there at the hospital? Whether it's like Spanish to English or other languages or other kind of language interpreters? And then also for all those who are coming into the chat or coming into the live stream, make sure that you answer the poll that I have in the chat here. Are you reaching your 22 language goals? Yes, I am. No, I am not. I have no idea. And I don't have any language goals as well. Make sure that you like this live stream. Dale un like. I like the way you said that in Spanish. You say dale. Dale un like. Dale un like a esta live stream. Y también, ¿qué quiero decirte? Oh yeah, suscríbete también. Suscríbete a este canal. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here as well if you are not subscribed already. I would appreciate that a lot because all those help out a lot for the channel as far as like pushing it out to more people and things like that. So that's definitely something that I want more. Claro que sí. Más tiempo de no sé, de ver, tiempo de reproducción y todo eso. Oh, more people, más personas para ver mis videos, to see my videos, and get more people interested in learning Spanish. That's something that I'm really passionate about. I like to get people very interested with learning languages and then also Spanish and Spanish culture and todo ese tipo de vaina. Yo, perdona, mi conexión es un broma. He creído detrás. Todo bien, no hay problema. Jules Lee says, yes, this is the first live stream. Awesome. Thanks for coming. And yes, we have interpreters. That's very cool. Overnights are my shift, so it's difficult for translators. Okay. That's awesome. That's one career field I thought about doing, becoming a Spanish interpreter, until I realized how much Spanish you have to know. I'm like, that's actually kind of hard. That's harder than I thought it would be. And you need like certification sometimes, depending on what kind of interpreting job it is. And hey, yo, what are your other language goals again? So I know you want to increase your, let's see, increase your listening skills, your speaking skills. Like, do you have any other specific language goals? One goal I never had, but maybe I should have had is like making people think that I'm Latino when I speak English. Because apparently, let's see, it was like 2 days ago. I had one coworker, and she's a Spanish speaker and everything like that. She's Mexican, and then she said we never really talked before in English like that much. Or no, we haven't talked that much before in general. But when we started talking, she's like, oh. She's like, you have like a Latino accent when you speak English. Oh, I was like, really? I'm like, oh, that's nice. So that's something that I noticed a lot is that like when I speak English, I start to use more like sounds from like the Spanish alphabet and not like the English alphabet because I'm always thinking in Spanish all the time. Always thinking in Spanish. So like when I speak words in English, I'm thinking I'm trying to use not trying to, but I guess it just comes out like it sounds a little bit more like Spanish. And probably because a lot of my Spanish speaking friends, they talk like they have accents too. So it's probably like I'm like mimicking them a little bit, I guess, on accident, just because of like my surrounding, my environment. I hear a lot of accents and a lot of accent, like Spanish accents, but like when they're speaking English, that's probably why like, my accent is changing a little bit too. It's kind of weird, but it's nice. It's fun. Porque más gente va a creer que soy latino. More people are gonna think that I'm Latino, pero no soy latino, yo soy gringo. I'm still jealous that you have family in Punta Cana. I wish I had family in the Dominican Republic. That'd be nice. Then I have always somewhere to go and visit. How do you think? That's a good question. How do I think in Spanish? So, ¿cómo te explico? So, like think, okay, ¿cómo te explico? So, okay, ahora mismo, right? So, like right now, you're thinking in English, probably, right? Um, yeah. So you're thinking in English right now. So instead of thinking in English, I'm thinking in Spanish. So let's say that I'm thinking about right now that I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to go buy some apples. I'm going to go buy some shoes, and then I'm going to come back in 2 hours. So instead of, let's say I'm thinking about that right now in my head. So I'm thinking about that. So, but instead of doing that in English, I'm going to do that in Spanish. So in my head right now, I'm thinking, okay, yo voy a ir al supermercado por, no sé, por dos horas y voy a comprar manzanas y, no sé, y ropa. Y después de eso, yo voy a regresar a mi casa and exactly like that, but in my head. So that's how I think in Spanish. And then I try to do that as much as I can. So I do that usually. I do think in Spanish every single day, and then I try to think all day long in Spanish as well, which can be challenging. But I've been doing this for the past, or working on doing this for the past, I would say probably 2 years. So it makes it has become a lot easier to think in Spanish. Before it used to be like very difficult. I would get really tired because it actually takes a lot of your energy to do that, to think in Spanish, to think in your second language. It takes a lot of energy out of you. But yeah, that's how I do it. I narrate everything that I'm doing in Spanish. Como Sí, como ahora mismo, como, ok, después de este live stream, yo voy a ir a la discoteca y yo voy a practicar con mis amigos, vamos a bailar la bachata, la salsa y quizás el merengue, pero no sé lo que van a poner. Ojalá que nuestro profesor, que nuestro profesor, que nuestro profesor nos va a enseñar algo muy creativo hoy, algo diferente, como pasos diferentes, porque los últimos 2 semanas los pasos han sido casi los mismos, pero hoy yo quiero algo diferente. So that's basically what I do in my head all day long. I'm always thinking in Spanish. And I could be thinking in Spanish about, some simple stuff, or I'm actually making up things in my head to think about. So that's something that I do as well. So like in that case, I was just thinking about what I'm going to do after this live stream, what I'm going to do tonight, what am I going to do later, or I like to narrate it in my head as well what I'm doing. So right now, okay, estoy practicando con ustedes, okay, estoy practicando con ustedes y bueno, estoy bueno, me alegro mucho que ustedes están aquí, todo eso. And that's how I think in Spanish. And then, and then I just keep doing that repeatedly over and over again throughout the day, every single day. And that helps out a lot. That helps out a lot. So you don't have to have like hard transitions, is what I say. So like usually for a lot of I'll say like for some Spanish learners, if they're not thinking in Spanish throughout the day, then it's really difficult. For example, you go to work all day, for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever the case may be. You go to work, but you're doing all that in your native tongue. But then you go home and it's like, okay, I need to study Spanish. But then your mind has to shift into Spanish mode because you've been thinking in English all day, you've been speaking English all day, or whatever your native tongue is, and then you just have to make that shift to Spanish, and that's actually very difficult to do, just to go from English to Spanish and then Spanish to English like that. So that's why that's not why I started thinking Spanish. I started to do it just for fun, I guess. But that has helped me a lot to always stay in Spanish mode, and then it also helps out your Spanish speaking fluency as well, because when I'm thinking in Spanish as well, I'm thinking of, it's like sometimes I make a lot of different scenarios in my head, like I said beforehand. I'm thinking about, what am I going to say to this Spanish speaker that's in line at the store? Or, what am I going to say to my Spanish speaking friend who's right in front of me? So I'm always, thinking of different phrases to say, what words can I say to this Spanish speaking person before I even speak with them? So hopefully that answers your question. Mari Lacey, Lacey Castillo. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Todo bien por acá, tranquilo. Todo está tranquilo por acá, tranqui. Muchas gracias. ¿Y tú qué tal estás? Julia, okay, so I will start that throughout the day. Yes, do it. I definitely recommend it. It's going to help you out a lot. Like no joke, no exaggeration. It's going to help you out a lot. No, sin duda, sin duda. No tengo ninguna duda con eso. Ninguna duda. Ni una sola duda con eso. Oh, hey, yo, déjame ver tu último mensaje. Tu último mensaje fue, honestamente me encanta mi progreso ahora. Estoy leyendo, pensando un poco en español, me alegra mucho. Me gusta, mi plan es trabajando para mí. Ok, qué excelente. Also says, creo que sé muchos vocabulario que puedo jugando con las palabras y hacer frases sencillas. Así es. Pero te voy a dar un consejo con eso, que yo puedo jugar, que yo puedo jugar con las palabras y hacer frases sencillas. Puedo jugando, no funciona muy bien. Yo puedo jugar. Mary Lacey Castillo, me alegro por ti, yo bien también, eres genial, muchas gracias. Yo trato de hacerlo. Yo trato de ser una persona muy genial, muy agradable. Yo trato. All right, now we have 7 votes. 7 votos But the question, are you reaching your 22 language goals? We have 71%, 71%, yes, I am. Then we have 40% for no, I am not, and 40% for I have no idea. And then 0% for I don't have any language goals. And let me know in the chat if you have not responded already. What are some of your language goals that you have set for this year? Déjame saber en el chat acá. One of my language goals was to translate a conversation from English to Spanish and from Spanish to English for an hour long. And yeah, I quit that probably within like the first month of this year because it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, to say the least. Parece lo menos. That's one goal I did not reach at all, not even close. Translating is very hard, or interpreting rather, interpreting between one language into the next language. It's very difficult. Déjame saber sobre tus metas. Let me know what kind of language goals do you have. Mientras eso, yo voy a tomar un poco de agua. Pero para expandir la conversación sobre el vocabulario A, E, A, E, O, yo también me encanta jugar con las palabras y frases. I love to have like a lot of vocabulary, like colloquial words, colloquial phrases, to be able to make a whole bunch of different ones together. I love doing that because there's so many different sentences that you can make, so many different, like even for example, like saludos y despedidas. Like you can create a lot of different ones. There's not just like hola cómo estás or qué tal. There's so many. I can probably say like I don't know, maybe 10 different ways of saying that. So I definitely love to do that. One new saludo that I learned this year from my Cuban friends is que bola sere. And I don't know what the actual translation of that is, but it sounds really cool. That's one way that they. Well, I guess I don't know if it's just between friends or if it's like between people that you just met, but definitely use it for like in between you and your friends. That's que bola sere. So I like that one a lot. I'm sure there's more in Cuba, but I haven't learned any, but I definitely will. I'm gonna try to learn some more Cuban Spanish. Well, that's something that I've learned too. I can kind of detect their accent now. Like before I never met Cubans before, so I never knew what they sounded like. But now if I hear them like in a crowd or something like that, if there's like a crowd of Latinos, I can probably distinguish their accent. If there was like Dominicans, like Dominicanos, Puerto Ricanos, y Cubanos, I could probably like be able to understand, who's or try to detect like which one is a Cubano and which one's not, because like their accents are fairly different. I used to think like all Caribbean accents, they all sound like the same, but they don't. They definitely do have their own like fairly distinct accent. Like for me, it was very difficult to try to like hear and to detect para detectar. Pero ahora mismo es más fácil. It's a lot easier for me to detect, and I didn't think I was going to get to this level so fast. As far as being able to detect the Cuban accent, because I just met my first Cubans for the first time this year, and hearing the accent for the first time like 4 or 5 months ago. But now I can already I can hear their accent in my head, at least like some of the accents in my head. So I think like that's like really cool. I like that a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm like, they're definitely from Cuba. I love being able to just to do that. Like, oh, they're probably from Puerto Rico, or they're from the Dominican Republic, they're from Mexico, or something like that. Imanelesi Castillo. What 22 language goals do you have? And then yeah, Jules, if you're still here, Jules Leia, like one thing I'd recommend, like just to start with that is like to keep it as simple as possible is like like narrating what you do, what you're doing. So like right now, if you're watching, right now you're watching a video or a live stream, then you would just narrate what you're doing, but in your head. So like right now, estoy viendo un video. So that'll help you a lot with like verb conjugations as well, than like using different types of vocabulary. Or let's say that you're cooking, you can do that all in your head, but in Spanish. Like, okay, estoy cortando el pollo, estoy cortando los vegetales, después de esto, yo voy a ponerlo y voy a colocarlos, porque los hispanohablantes utilizan esta palabra también, colocar, poner o retirar y todo eso. Es como, bueno, entonces yo voy a colocar los vegetales en el pollo y yo voy a ponerlo o dentro un calzo o dentro la sartén y después de eso yo voy a dejarlos cocinar por 10 minutos y yo voy a retirarlo y agregar más comida o algo así. And like you just like play with a whole bunch of words, you just have fun with it. And yeah, that's like a really easy way that for you to think like throughout the day. Just everything that you're doing, just think about it in Spanish. If you're walking, you can talk about like what you're seeing. If you're outside, okay, estoy viendo árboles, yo veo coches, un coche negro, un coche rojo, un coche blanco, algo así. O hay personas que están ahí que están hablando, o lo que sea. El cielo, el cielo es azul, o lo que sea. O no sé, el sol es rojo, bla, bla, bla. Hace calor, hace color, pero hay pocos nubes en el cielo hoy. Something like that. And you just keep going and going like as much as you can. Just like be descriptive as possible, or depending on what your level is. You just try to kind of keep that conversation going on in your head. Just always thinking in Spanish, always thinking, always trying to describe stuff. And of course, if you don't know a word, that you can always look it up. If you have a dictionary, I mean, this is not just for Jules, this is for everybody. If you're not thinking in Spanish, got your phone, so you can go on, SpanishDick.com, or if you're like me, you like to have physical copies of stuff. So like I have like a physical dictionary that I like to use as well, because I don't like to use my phone and computer all the time because I get distracted very very easily, very easily. So that's why I like to have like physical books too. Like I have a physical dictionary, verb book, and like a Spanish grammar book. And I don't like reading online really, unless it's like a news article. But usually I like to read physical books too. But anyway, I'm kind of going off a rant. But yeah, I like to read physical stuff most of the time if I'm not using my computer. Because usually I'm on my computer all day anyway. So I like to have like a little break from my computer technology a little bit, and just like read physical stuff. But yeah, that's also in the description box as well. You can purchase those. I have some links below for some different Spanish resources. Let's see. Yeah, like I have this verb book. I have this verb book, and then I have the dictionary like you just saw. I have a Spanish grammar book. Then also some simple Spanish books as well in the description box as well. If you're interested in those. Now we have 10 votes for are you reaching your 22 language goals? We have 60%, 60% for yes I am, 10% for no I am not, 30%, 30% for I have no idea, and 0% for I don't have any language goals. Que bueno, me alegra mucho saber esto. Me da mucho gusto. AEAEO says, uno mi meta es traducir una entrevista en español y entonces lo recito para me ayude a comenzar de hablar. Para me ayuda a comenzar a hablar. Sí, son cositas que yo quiero hacer también, pero me cuesta. Me cuesta traducir y interpretar entre los idiomas. So that's probably the hardest skill for me. Besides listening comprehension, trying to translate, trying to interpret in between the languages is probably the hardest skill for me to actually like increase. Because it really is different. It's not the same as just like speaking Spanish. It's a different skill that you have to work on. if you want to like interpret, because you have to know what something means. So, for example, how do I put this? Um, so if I'm interpreting English to Spanish, and I say different colloquial phrases or whatnot in English, a lot of the things that we say in English, or for example, I live in the United States, so a lot of the things that I say in English, someone who lives in a different country, in a Spanish-speaking country, they may not understand that because they don't have the same types of phrases. So that's something that I think for me is like really difficult. You have to know if there is like a similar phrase in that particular country. If there's not, then you have to figure out a way to actually explain that. And for me, that's very difficult. Pero muchas gracias por compartir eso. Ah, se me cayó. Un minuto. Ok, está bien. And is there any kind of like hay una entrevista específica or no? Or like cualquier entrevista or whatever kind of interview? I like that goal though. Jules Leia, I have to get ready for work. Hope to catch you again. Thanks for joining and disfruta tu tiempo en el trabajo. Have a good time at work. Nos vemos pronto. And for all those who are coming in, make sure that you dale like, give a thumbs up, el pulgón. Oh no, not el pulgón. I forget what thumb is in Spanish. It's something that starts with a P. Pulgar, el pulgar. That's what it is. It's actually a very weird word because it seems like a verb, but it's actually a noun. El pulgar. But yeah, dale like as the live stream. Y también, if you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you subscribe to my channel as well. And share my videos, because that will be very helpful. Muy útil para este canal. Also, let me know in the chat. How did you find out about my channel? How did you find Spanish Blueprints? Like, did someone share it with you, or did it just pop up on your, like on your YouTube? It's not a feed, on like on your YouTube homepage. And then I will make sure that I put thumb in. I'll put that in the chat here too. Just in case you didn't know that there are some nouns that look like verbs. For what I don't know why this is, but yeah, this is definitely a thing. So el pulgar is thumb in Spanish. So it looks like a verb, but it is not a verb. It is un sustantivo. It is a noun. So I think that there might be some other words like that, but I'm not sure. That's the only one I know for sure that is like that. El pulgar. And then soon I will be doing. We're definitely gonna do a live stream about before the end of the year about like setting like our 2023 language goals as well. And yeah, setting our 2022 language goals, some different like tips for that, and different tips for that, and yeah, different tips for that. Linda GMA or GMA. You came up on my feed just now. Oh, awesome. Linda, do you watch a lot of Spanish YouTube channels or like YouTube channels that teach Spanish? Linda also says, I have no goals and don't know how to maintain it. How long have you been learning Spanish for? Okay, perfect. Linda says, yes, I watch a lot of Spanish YouTube channels. That's great. So do I. Yo también. And Linda has been learning Spanish for 1 year and a half. That's awesome. Just started. Kind of. One a year and a half. I say that's like kind of just getting started. That's awesome. So you have no goals. You don't have any goals at all? Like, I guess, like, why did you start learning Spanish? Was there a specific reason, or did you just start randomly? No, no te creo. Oh, wow. Qué impresionante. ¿Vives en Panamá or Panamá? That must be fun. I've never been to Panama before. I've seen pictures. I've seen pictures, and it looks absolutely beautiful there. Qué excelente. Very divertido. Awesome. So you're getting a lot of good practice then with Spanish. I don't know what their accent is like there actually though. I don't think I've talked to some Panamanians, but I haven't really talked to I haven't spoke to them in Spanish really. Pero ¿cómo es vivir ahí? ¿Cómo es la vida? They speak very fast. Panamanians we speak very fast. I'm sure they do. Yeah, I need to listen. I need to watch a video. 'Cause I don't think I know what their accent sounds like at all. I don't think I've ever watched any videos of Panamanians speaking Spanish before. Has anybody else heard the Panamanian accent before? I do have a friend that is Panamanian, but she grew up there for a little bit, but she spent most of her like life in other countries, so she doesn't really have like a Panamanian accent really. But I have met a few this year. I think I've met two Panamanians this year, surprisingly. Two or three, like yeah, two or three Panamanians this year I've met that I never would imagine I would meet because I don't know how many are in the U.S. But in comparison to them versus other Spanish speaking countries, I would love to know who speaks the fastest. Eso me interesa saber. La velocidad de los panameños. Actually, I keep forgetting how to say this in Spanish. I need to look it up. Like, como las personas que viven que provienen de Panama, how to say, because Panamanian, I think is like the English way of saying it, I think. Déjame ver. Como la Panamena. Panamena? Panameno, I think. La panameña. Okay, la panameña, la panameño. El panameño, meño. Así se dice en español, yo creo. El pan, ay, jaja, panimeño. El panimeño. Ey, 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 yo, ey, ey, yo, sis. Sí, pero no a nivel ya es en español. Solo quiero invitar los hablantes. Fue una entrevista solo sobre México y Colombia. A mí ellos hablaron claro, preguntas y interacciones buenas. Ok. En español quería invitar a los hablantes. Yo también. Me encanta imitar los hispanohablantes. That's one of my favorite things to do. Okay, and then yeah. So el panameño y la panameña. That's how you say it like in Spanish. But like in English, you just say Panamanian, I think. But yeah, that's what I was trying to like remember. Yeah, Panamanian is how you would say like in English, and then those other two are in Spanish. And then now, see, we have 11 votes for are you reaching your 22 language goals? We have 64%, 64% for yes, I am, and then 9% for no, I am not, and 27% for I have no idea. 27% for no tengo ni idea. And that says Puerto Ricans speak the fastest. Los puertorriqueños. And it says el Panamanians habla más rápido, creo. Voy a dar un pasillo ahora. I think it's a close one. It's a fight. Es una lucha. Es una lucha. Es una lucha en la velocidad. Because after I used to think the Dominicans spoke the fastest, but then I started listening to like Puerto Ricans, and like they speak kind of fast. But then I met Cubans, and I was like, whoa, like Los Cubanos, they speak very fast too. Los Cubanos, it's like, yeah, they can speak pretty fast. But I don't know how fast Panamanians speak though. I need to plug in my laptop. Porque hay baja batería. Ahí está. Yeah, I think it just really depends on the person, but definitely los cubanos y like los dominicanos, like they're very like their accent is kind of I don't know, kind of similar, but like the cubanos, they just have like a different tone. They have a different tone in their voice. A Jamaican accent? Oh, I didn't know that. And that says some Spanish speakers have a Jamaican accent, like in Panama and Nicaragua. That's interesting. Quizás por la cercanía de esos países. Like the same people, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Or similar people. Yeah, I don't know how. I've listened to one guy on YouTube, I think, who was from Panama, but yeah, I haven't really dug into their countries at all. I don't know anything about those countries necessarily. About Panama or Nicaragua. I don't know too much about their country or their accents or how they speak Spanish or nothing like that at all. But I would love to watch some videos on them. First things first, I probably should get like more accustomed to the Dominican accent. I've been saying I've been trying to for like all year long, but I haven't really been working on it too much. That's one big goal of mine is to increase was to get better at accents. So my neutral accent, the Dominican accent, and then also the Spanish accent from España. and then I guess Mexican accent too, but that's kind of a lot. Anna says, nah, nah was not right. I don't know what that new, nah, I was not. Oh, I was not right. Some Panamanians are descended from Jamaica. Oh, okay, that makes sense. But I don't know their accents. Okay, that makes plenty of sense. A lot of, ¿cómo se dice? Como like a lot of, I guess like Spanish speakers. No, ¿qué es lo que quiero decir? Una mezcla de todo. Una mezcla. Una mezcla de como de raíces. But I'll definitely check out their accents. And for those who are coming to the chat, or coming to the, like you say, keep saying that into dentro del chat. But para todos que están entrando en esta live stream, for those who are going to the live stream, make sure that you dale like a este video. Make sure that you give it a thumbs up. Then also answer the question in the chat here. Are you reaching your 2022 language goals? And the answers are yes, I am. No, I am not. I have no idea, and I don't have any language goals. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you do that as well. And let me know, how did you find this channel? Porque me encanta saber la respuesta de esa pregunta. Me encanta. ¿Cómo encontraste este canal? And Annette, are you learning Panamanian Spanish? Or what Spanish are you learning? Mientras tanto, voy a tomar agua. I guess that's going to be a question for everybody. What specific are you? Ay Dios, no puedo, no puedo comunicarme hoy. What language are you speaking? Not language. ¿Qué idioma? Bueno, that's a question for later, actually. But what Spanish accent are you learning right now? Or what dialect are you learning right now in Spanish? ¿Qué acento y cuál dialecto estás aprendiendo en español? Some parts of Nicaragua along the coast, I think it's called Bluefield, speak Spanish with a Jamaican accent. Ah, qué interesante. So they have two different accents. So they have a Spanish accent and they have a Jamaican accent. Or they're speaking Spanish with a Jamaican accent. Eso tiene sentido. Joseph Osia, I like the Dominican accent because I speak English fast already. I say the same exact thing. I always say that too. I always say like I like the Dominican accent because I speak English really fast. I love the way Dominicans speak. And not just for like the velocity, how fast they speak, but just like they're like perdóname, the tone in their voice is like very different too. Yeah, it's just not just like how fast, but it's like the way that they say things is really interesting. Joseph says, I was surprised they don't like spicy food. I did not know they didn't like spicy food. At least the food that I tried there, I know it wasn't really spicy. Well, yeah, I guess I don't really know what kind of place they have there that are really spicy. That's what I also like too. A lot of different Spanish speaking countries, they have their own different types of food. Because when I went to the Dominican Republic, I never knew what type of, como qué tipo de comida que se sirve ahí, pero no es como México. No están comiendo tacos y frijoles y qué más, y como chimichangas o lo que sea, o burritos y quesadillas y qué más. Y bueno, comida así. Están comiendo algo completamente diferente. ¿Qué se comen en la República Dominicana? Un montón de plátano, tostones, bueno, pescado también, pero pescado, sancocho, mangú, un montón de plátano, plátano con todo, plátano va con todo, plátano con carne, plátano con cebolla. That's like the weirdest thing that I ate in Dominican Republic was eating plátano con cebolla, eating plátano con eating plantain with onion and meat. That was like the weirdest combination for me. Something I wasn't very used to. It was like it was warm, of course. It was warm too, so that was an interesting experience. Never tried plantains with like those different types of like other like categories of food. That was hilarious. I'm like, you guys put onions in there? I'm like, I don't want onions in my plantains. Sin cebolla, por favor. That's why like my favorite thing to say when I'm in restaurants. Sin cebolla. Because I don't like putting onions in my food. Well, it depends. I do like onions, but not all the time. En el plátano, no. En el mangú, no. Yo estoy recordando que tengo algunos idiomas metas. En el futuro quiero comenzar a escuchar más a las personas que hablan español, pero solo principiantes porque les puedo entender. Ok. Okay. AEAEO says, I need to translate this. I'm remembering that I do have some language learning goals in the future. I want to start to have to listen to Spanish speakers, but more like beginners, so I can understand them. And that says I first started with Spanish accent, then I used it to neutral. I want to learn the Puerto Rican accent, Puerto Rico, but eventually mastering Spanish. I like to learn to speak Puerto Rican too. Okay. Los puertorriqueños. Yeah, I want to learn probably the Puerto Rican accent too sometime or another. Within the next few years. Because they have like a very interesting rhythm to the way that they speak. I like the way that they really control the way that they speak. They're like there's like a lot of ups and downs. It's really interesting. I can't imitate them, but I can hear it in my head a little bit. It's like, yeah, they kind of do. They kind of sound a little bit. They don't sound like their tones don't sound like Dominican tones, but like the way kind of like their flow is kind of similar sometimes. Because like they have like very sharp endings to some of their words. Like they'll say a lot of words, but then they'll have like a sharp end, and then it's like a small pause, and then they continue on again. It's really interesting. I wish I could imitate it, but I can't. And they kind of heighten. Oh, not heighten. They kind of like raise their voice a little bit, like at the end of some of the words too. Actually, they do it like twice. They kind of do like at the beginning and the end of a word, actually, if I can remember like correctly. Like blah blah blah. I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to embarrass myself. Not today. But they kind of like raise their voice like twice. It's really cool. That's like, oh, it's kind of difficult to do. But I like the way they speak. I like all these accents, honestly. All these accents I love. I even like the Spanish accent too now. I do like the Spanish accent. because it's different. I like that there's a lot of variety in that because, like I said, I like to imitate Spanish speakers. So the more accents, the better for me. Like the more accents that there are, the more that I can try to imitate and try to sound like. Now we have 15 votes for are you reaching your 22 language goals? We have 60%, we have 60% for yes I am, then we have 13% for no I'm not, and 27%, 27% for no, oh I have no idea. Tengo que recordar de mi, tengo que recordar mis propias preguntas que yo puse. And that says I think one has to learn the language first and then choose a niche. That is my opinion. Yeah, I agree with that. That was kind of my experience. And I never really tried to focus on the accent. I was just trying to focus on just what people were saying in general. It's a hard thing to do anyway. Um, like regardless, it takes a long time. I used to think it would be like a really fast thing to do to learn a new accent. First, be able to comprehend them, but then after that, be able to speak like them. But no, it's a very long process. It's not as easy. It's not as easy as I thought. It's not as fast as I thought. Um, yeah, but I mean, it's not. I mean, it's challenging, but it's definitely doable for anybody. But yeah, there's so much to learn about just like the language itself. Some people may pressure themselves to think and they have to learn a specific Spanish. I've read that a lot like online from either like on Reddit or Twitter or something like that, or heard in YouTube videos. People like they want to learn a specific accent because they think they're not going to be able to communicate with other Spanish speakers. They're not going to be able to comprehend other Spanish speakers if they don't choose a specific type of Spanish, and it's not the case. It may seem like that because they speak so different and things like that. But no, it's like when I speak to a lot of my Spanish speaking friends, they usually say like, oh yeah, we can understand each other for the most part, but like kind of like with different accents, within English, within the English language as well, like within the United States, a lot of different accents here. We talk very different depending on what part of the states, what part of the country that you're in. Kind of the same thing, like with Spanish, I suppose as well. A lot of different accents, but you're able to understand for the most part. But like some specific words that are in like, let's say, I don't know, Ohio versus like words they use in California may be different. And that says, but on the other hand, I think they need a person of particular region to imitate in your language learning journey. I agree with that as well. I mean, like you don't have to learn an accent at all. You don't have to learn an accent. You don't have to learn an accent if you don't want to. It's really just about opinion, because you can get by with regular Spanish, not regular Spanish, with like basic Spanish. Basic, but when I say basic Spanish, I don't mean like it is a meaning thing. By basic Spanish, I mean like you're able to communicate in Spanish, basically. Like you have enough vocabulary to be able to say sentences and to have communication with Spanish speakers. Like that'll carry you no matter where you are. So that's what I agree with it. At the same time, it's like for me, it's like I don't. Not that I don't agree with it, but at the same, kind of you say on the other hand, like it's not for me. It's just not really necessary all the time, especially if you're going to different countries and things like that. Like I was saying, you can't just like force yourself to learn a whole new accent in like 2 weeks. It doesn't really work like that. It takes a lot of time. So that's why like just making sure how to ask for things in Spanish. The basics of the language to be able to communicate yourself. Depending on where you go or who you're talking with is like very important, and it's very useful. Just as simple as it can be is going to help you in any Spanish speaking country, no matter where you are. Like they're going to be able to understand you, for the most, without even having to know very specific words from a particular country. Not like it doesn't help at all. It's very helpful, very very helpful. So we need to learn more words from a particular country, but like if you're just trying to travel and things like that, and if you have not learned an accent, then it's not really necessary. You can just use your base knowledge of of the Spanish language. And that's the most important piece, being able to communicate with you. Like I said before, with different accents, they'll be able to understand different accents, maybe different words, but like as long as you're saying like, oh, yo quiero un cuarto en este hotel o algo así, por 2 o 3 días. You don't need like a whole bunch of different colloquial words and phrases for that. Or if you're talking about food, or if you're talking about, I don't know, talking about airplane, any kind of like any type of like questions at the airport, or questions at the hospital, or whatever the case may be, or in a store. Like you don't need a whole bunch of different colloquial words and phrases for those types of situations. You just use your normal Spanish, or whatever, neutral Spanish, just the base of it. But it's definitely fun to be able to use accents for me. That's why I'm kind of starting to learn more, different accents and more colloquial words and phrases from other countries, just because for me, I like to learn. I love to learn. I love to learn as much as possible about the language. So that's why I'm starting to kind of immerse myself more in the culture this way, with vocabulary. I think that's like a huge piece, in learning about cultures, learning about the different words and phrases that are used in different countries. That are more country specific. Like I know that in la República Dominicana, se dicen el zafacón, and I guess like el zafacón is like maybe the container of la basura. Like the basura is trash, or it could be like basura is trash, but like el zafacón is like, I guess, the container there, the container of the actual trash. That's like a word I learned like specifically from there. I think they use it in other countries as well. But yeah, stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. For me, this like really fascinates me. I'm trying to think of some other words. Oh, like booyah. So booyah is a word that I learned from like my Dominican friends too. But I've heard my friend from Guatemala use it as well. So like, oh, I guess it's not just like a Dominican word. But instead of saying like ruido, which is like noisy, you can say booyah, which sounds like, which I just realized sounds like the English or the Spanish version of booyah, if you know what like that means. If you're like, I guess that's like a 90s thing. 90s, 80s, 90s, both. Like, I don't know, I spell it booyah, whatever it is. So it sounds exactly like that actually. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Booyah, or ruidoso, like something that's like really noisy. And then also learning about how to say straw, because they say straw differently in so many different countries, and that's kind of annoying. I only know like, I forgot what they say in the Dominican Republic already. And I know you can say like, is it pepote? Pepote? Maybe they said that in the Dominican Republic. I forgot. Pepote, algo así. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to say straws for whatever reason. They don't have like one universal way to say straw apparently. I think, which is kind of lame. They should reduce the amount of ways you can say straw. Let me look it up right now. Straws in Spanish. Oh, there we go. Yep. Too many different ways. La paja, la paja, la pajita, el popote, el sorbete, el petito, ¿cómo se dice? El petillo. I don't know why there's so many different words, but there are. Absorbente, caramete, sorbete, petillo, bombilla, which is weird because that's like loose in Spanish too. And that says, hey, yo, I try to imitate another YouTuber's accent, my Spanish teacher. Imitation is so much fun. For those who are coming into the live stream here, muchas gracias por venir. Thanks for coming. And make sure that you answer the question in the chat here for, are you reaching your 22 language goals? Because that is el tema, el tópico de esta live stream. that is the topic of this live stream here. I think it's very important to talk about our goals so we can reflect on all of our progress that we have made. It's really fun. It's really fun to see how much progress you have made over the year, and then depending on how many years you've been learning Spanish for, over the years. Like for me, I wish I recorded myself speaking Spanish, 3 or 4 years ago, but I have very, very few videos, unfortunately. So that's something that I definitely recommend doing. Record yourself, write in Spanish, and then 2 years from now, or a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, you're going to be able to see a lot of progress, and that's something that's really fun because this is your own little journey. Learning a language is a journey. It really is like its own little separate experience of life. So I definitely recommend, try to, document that as much as possible, being able to see, what kind of goals that you had, what were the goals that I had, this past January, what were the goals that I had 2 years ago? I think that's like, really interesting to see, just, kind of how your mind changes too, then also how different your life can be because, my life is different from, what it was 2 years ago, maybe your life is different as well. So the ways that I'm learning Spanish right now are different from the ways that I learned Spanish 2 years ago or even 3 years ago. So it was really interesting to see how different that is. I first started with not talking to Spanish speakers at all. Then I gradually went to talking with Spanish speakers through applications. And then after speaking with Spanish speakers through applications, I went to having conversations with Spanish speakers in person. And now that's, primarily that's what I do. Now I have, phone calls in Spanish with my friends. I text my friends in Spanish all the time. And I talk with Spanish speakers constantly, throughout the week in person. And, 2-3 years ago, that was never happening at all. So I like to, see, that progression. And also, eso bocino tiene un coche. Ojalá que se acaba. Pero bueno, ¿qué estaba diciendo? Yeah, being able to see your progress over the past few years, I definitely recommend definitely record yourself speaking Spanish. Record yourself speaking Spanish. You'll see a lot of progress. Even for me, watching my videos that I made at the beginning of this year in Spanish, I've already seen a lot of progress already, or heard, I guess. Heard and seen a lot of progress that I've made from January of this year. So, and then also, being able to see how many goals that I've reached this year too is, it's really fun. It's really fun to see, and makes me feel, really, really proud. Muy orgulloso para ver todo mi progreso y saber que como todo mi trabajo está funcionando, que como lo que estoy haciendo, mis estrategias para aprender este idioma está funcionando. Yo sé que me sirve y también te ayuda para saber qué está funcionando o qué no es. Qué tipo de estrategias necesitas hacer en el futuro o qué deberías dejar atrás, lo que sea, ¿me entiendes? Yo says, yo vi un video con una mujer que aprendiendo español. Me encanta su acento, no sé si ella haya viajado a país y habla español, pero su acento es perfecto. ¿Y qué tipo de acento tiene esta muchacha? And it says my style and understanding is shifting as I grow in Spanish and my Spanish comprehension. Sí, por eso te digo. That's why I like that. I do a lot of reflection. Just for that. So I can see if my style and my understanding is different. Because my listening comprehension is definitely different than 2 years ago. I couldn't understand anybody, but now I can understand a lot better than I could a few years ago. So then also even the way that I write is different too. It hasn't gotten very, very a lot better, but it's my writing skills have increased too. I've looked at recently some of the things I wrote in college, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'm like, what are you writing? So I've definitely seen some increases in my writing skills when I'm writing in Spanish, for sure. And basically all my skills have increased over the past few years. And then this year too. So I reached a lot of my language goals. Some of my language goals have been to speak with Spanish speakers more. as much as possible. And I've definitely done that. I've gotten more out of my comfort zone and initiating more conversations in Spanish, and also pushing myself to have longer conversations as well in person with Spanish speakers. And because of that, I have more friends now. Because of it, I have more Spanish speaking friends. I've met a lot of Cubanos. I've met a lot of a lot of people from Cuba that are Spanish speakers, and I met people who. I got another friend from La República Dominicana, from the Dominican Republic, and I'm trying to think who else. Well, yeah, una mujer de Panamá, unos amigos de Puerto Rico también, y de Mexico. So like I've been able to meet a lot of people. I met a woman from Costa Rica. I met a woman from Costa Rica. I met a woman from Honduras, Costa Rica, Honduras. Last night I met a woman from Colombia, también from Mexico. So like the more that I push myself and get out of my comfort zone, the more people I'm able to interact with, more people I can meet and practice my Spanish. And I like to say, like, every conversation that you have in Spanish is really different. Like they're not the same. I used to think they were the same because that's kind of how I used to treat it, because I never had conversations before. So I always thought it was going to go exactly how I thought it would in my head. Like I would go to a restaurant. I'm like, all right, I'm going to order for, I don't know, like quesadillas. Okay, yo quiero dos quesadillas y una horchata. And like that was the conversation, but like it never went like that. Entonces, para mí no me importa un acento, pero ayer cambié mi mente después viendo el video. Okay. I don't know what kind of accent I have anymore. Like 2 years ago, people used to tell me that I have like they thought I had like a Puerto Rican accent, but now I think more people say that I have like a Dominican accent, and that's probably because I use it a lot more. I use my Dominican accent more than anything, more than anything. And yeah, that's probably like the only one I'm really, really good at. Like the Spanish accent, I don't really use my Spanish accent like that because I don't know anybody from Spain here. But yeah, I don't usually use the Spanish accent. I think that'd be funny to see like what people's reactions are if I start to use the Spanish accent. That'd be kind of funny. But I need to increase that a little bit. But the Dominican accent, I usually use that. That's kind of like almost my neutral accent now. My neutral accent is almost like a Dominican accent now. That's why people like say like, "Oh, where are you from?" And a lot of people think like Dominican Republic right away. Because like even when I try to speak like as neutral as possible, like sometimes it still could just kind of sound like Dominican. Because I'm just like so used to like hearing it so much, so like I kind of just like I kind of imitate it automatically without even thinking about it. But it's not like a really thick accent or anything like that. Just a little bit, un toque de dominicano, un toque. Pero sí, eso, sí, I'll say like that. That has been like one of my biggest goals for this year. I'd say, what has been to increase my access. But I say it takes time, and it takes some time. Para decirlo menos, toma tiempo para mejorar tu acento, porque no tiene que ver con el acento del país, que, bueno, a lo que quieres sonar o lo que sea, no sé cómo explicarlo bien. Pero el acento que quieres saber o quieres mejorar en ese país, todavía necesitas saber como lo básico de español. Necesitas saber cómo construir frases y todo eso, ¿me entiendes? Y por esa razón, eso es bien importante, que no simplemente tratas de aprender como una forma o para aprender un nuevo acento tan rápido y tan temprano en tu camino, porque va a ser un poco difícil al principio de tu camino aprendiendo español, porque tienes que saber como que es lo básico, como las reglas básicas del español antes de saber cómo cambia su acento, ¿me entiendes? Pero depende de tu forma de estudiar. En estas Now I see the word differently. Spanish block, Spanish, I don't know what block is. Countries and how the world is. Oh, okay, Spanish countries and how the world is viewed from a Spanish perspective and their history, their culture, and their issues. Me too. Yo también. That's why I love learning Spanish so much. Porque yo pongo mí mismo en los zapatos de los demás. That's also something that my ITALKI tutor taught me. She taught me that phrase. Como yo pongo mí mismo, o me pongo mí mismo en los zapatos de los demás. Like you put yourself like in the shoes of others to see, like you said, see the world through their eyes. Because yeah, it's very different. Like from where I'm from and everything like that. Where I live, in the United States. We have different mentality. We see the world differently from people live in speaking countries or other countries around the world too. So no, I definitely love that aspect of language learning to have como una mente diferente, una perspectiva de vida diferente también. I love to change the way that I think. I love to learn new things. And like you're saying, too, issues like from like when I started to watch a lot of like news in Spanish, that is what you're saying like right now, that affected me a lot, seeing what type of issues are going on, or what are people in the Dominican Republic, what are they dealing with on a day-to-day, or wait, what are the politics like in that country. The politics are different in different countries, so that that really interested me, especially when I went to travel there, because I was watching the news a lot. So I had to figure out, like during like the pandemic and everything like that, what were the restrictions there? The restrictions there, were different from the restrictions, like within my country, that also like within my state and things like that. So I really just kind of opened my eyes and to the way they live in that kind of way for sure. Because like there, like here, like I was living beforehand in como in Minnesota. En Minnesota no, como no tuvimos un toque de queda. We didn't have like a curfew. The Dominican Republic, they had a curfew, and it wasn't just like a little curfew. It was like a fairly strict curfew. So like they had to be back home when I was there back last June of 2021. So last year, last June, you couldn't be outside past whatever it was, like 9 p.m. or something like that. I think it started. I mean, it depends, because the toque de queda, it was different. Like sometimes they had toque de quedas that would be more strict. Other times they had toque de quedas that were less strict. And depending on what it was, like they could give you like they could say like, all right, everybody has to be home at 9, but from like 8 to 9, you have like an hour free to travel and get back to your home. Then after that, it was like you better not be you better not be outside. So like, oh, now for me that was like really different, because like I haven't experienced anything like that before, like un toque de queda. Never experienced that before. Being in that country, and then have the experience that there was, it's like really, really interesting. Um, so yeah, that kind of just changed my mind about certain things there, about like freedoms and things like that. Un toque de queda. See, there's a lot of memes about toque de quedas too. There was so many memes during the like really enough. A lot of memes came out of the pandemic, and I say that because like that's a lot of things that I read, like on because I was consuming a lot of content from the Dominican Republic, all of last year, and yeah, like, all of last year, and whatever. I was like, look, I saw like a lot of memes and stuff like that. A lot of memes from there about like los toque de quedas, because I mean there wasn't much like that people were talking about besides toque de quedas. I was like, that's all I heard. I heard like vacuna, vaccine. I heard vacuna, COVID. I heard el toque de queda. It was like words I heard all the time. Toque de queda. Y qué más batería eso. Yeah, so that was really interesting. Kind of like an eye opener for me, I suppose. Their history and their culture. Sí, su cultura es muy diferente en la República Dominicana también. Sí, incluso en México también. A lot of things are done differently. Mi estilo. Okay, I heard that already. Let me know in the chat what are your other language goals for this year. Also, are you thinking of your 2023 language goals yet? I am. I'm actually thinking about or actually, I already know some things that I want to do, but that's the issue with me right now. That's the issue with me right now is that I have too many different goals that I want to reach. So it's kind of hard for me to study sometimes because there's so many different things that I want to pursue. I want to get the Dominican accent. I want the Cuban accent. I want the Mexican accent. I want the Spanish accent. So I want to like tackle all those. I want to increase my reading comprehension. So I want to read more books in Spanish. I want to watch more, like I want to watch more Netflix, más telenovelas. I want to watch more Spanish telenovelas, movies, and all that. But it's like there's only so much time in the day, and only so much time in a year to do everything. So that's kind of my biggest thing right now is trying to figure out what are the best goals or not the best goals, but like what goals I should pursue first because I can't pursue all of them at the same time. I've tried. It's not really possible for me for like the goals that I want because like those take a long time. Like I was saying beforehand, como tratando de desarrollar acentos nuevos, eso toma tiempo, como toma meses. See, like it takes months and months of practice and dedication. Usually, depending on where you are, if you're at home or if you're in a Spanish-speaking country, that could be like a little bit easier. But I mean, you can still do like a lot of things at home. But that's kind of my biggest struggle right now. It's just trying to figure out like which goals I want to go after first. Right now, I'm going after two. Trying to increase my Dominican accent and also the Spanish accent. But yeah, it's very difficult. Like I said, there's only so much time in the day, and for like how fast I want to get it as well, it just takes a lot of time. AEAO says, otra meta de mi español es estudiar español formalmente. ¿Y qué significa? ¿Qué dices? ¿O qué significa eso? ¿A qué te refieres con español formalmente? ¿Eso como en una escuela o qué? So what do you mean by español formalmente, AEAO? ¿Qué significa eso? I've also thought about taking some type of course for advanced Spanish speakers because I've never taken any kind of course before. I've never taken an actual like besides like in college, but that was 3 years ago. I haven't taken any kind of course really to learn Spanish or to like advance my Spanish speaking skills. That's something I might try to look into. But I try to do things like on my own. Like right now, and like for example, with my channel, I try to make a lot of different strategies and methods for learning Spanish. And a part of that for me is, okay, if I'm a beginner, how do I go from beginner to intermediate? Then as an advanced learner, how do I go from intermediate to advanced and things like that. So I always think about different, tips and strategies for that. I try to do it like as much as I can on my own without researching it because it's like a pride thing, and I like to like learn things on my own. So yeah, I thought about taking a course, but I don't know. I might just try to create my own methods for staying an advanced Spanish learner or a fluent Spanish speaker, whatever you want to call it. So I might we'll see. I might do a course, but maybe not. I feel like courses for me too are like too rigid. Like I have my own way that I want to learn Spanish, and sometimes courses you don't get too much liberty, you don't get too much freedom with what you can do. But we'll see because I feel like I need more structure sometimes when I'm learning Spanish because I'm all over the place as you can hear. I'm doing so many different things. For example, this year I started to dance. I started to dance to Latin music. That's something I've never done before, but that's also another way of learning Spanish as well. I don't know how to categorize that, but I know like there are Spanish learners who do that, who focus specifically on music, and that's how they learn Spanish, just like mostly primarily through music. So that's also very interesting as well. It's been taking my time. And that says for now, what I have is a plate full. Yo también. I just have to get better at organizing my Spanish studies and my French studies because yeah, because I'm also studying French, but not that well. Also not that well. I'm just taking my time. That's all. I'm taking my time. So that's also the struggle. One of my struggles is, yeah, is learning French and Spanish at the same time because I'm not more dedicated necessarily, but I spend more time learning Spanish than I do French, even though I do want to learn both, or rather maintain Spanish, um, and get to more like a conversational level with French because I'm not at a conversational level with French like at all. That's what I wanted to do at the beginning of this year. That was one of my goals for French, get the conversational level, and I have not. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet at all. Mostly because I haven't been increasing my vocabulary every single day. Unfortunately, uh, I have not been lazy, but I've been just not good with my planning when it comes to languages because I spend way too much time with Spanish. It's so hard for me to turn off Spanish music. That's the hardest thing. Because it'd be like the end of the day or whatnot, and it's time to study French or whatever. But listening to Spanish music, I don't want to turn the Spanish music off, or I'm dancing or something like that. So for me, it's just hard to transition to French. I'm so used to my whole life has been like dedicated to learning Spanish for the past 3 years. And I have a new language, and I'm trying to figure out how to balance both of those. That is very difficult, and not that it's difficult for me. Like the beginning is not super difficult. Like it's fairly simple. When you're learning a new language, it's fairly simple. Like what you have to do, you have to gain, a decent amount of vocabulary to be able to comprehend things when you're reading them, and to be able to speak as well. Listening comprehension, that's a different thing. But as far as like getting to a level where you can start speaking and things like that, it's just learning new vocabulary. So that's very simple. But yeah, I don't know. It's just difficult for me to do everything that I want to do basically when it comes to languages. Like if I had the choice, which hopefully in the future I will, I would love just to learn Spanish all day long, learn French all day long, or whatever, or what any other language. But I don't have time like that. So that's kind of the big thing I need to work on is I need to put more time to learning French, and not just Spanish because like I said, obviously I love Spanish. This live stream is called Spanish Nerd Live Stream. So that's my biggest challenge is putting the Spanish stuff down and then switching over to French and put more time to French because I really need to actually kind of advance more than I have been because I just haven't really been focusing on increasing my vocabulary at all. So I've been reading a little bit, but my vocabulary is extremely, extremely low. So yeah, my vocabulary is not very amplio in francés. And that says by that I mean my mind is almost fully occupied with the stage I am at. In the near future, I'll set new goals. Oh, okay. Oh, that's actually something I haven't really thought about before. That's interesting. Okay. So you wouldn't even make new goals for the new year because like where you're at right now is like you're good with your goals right now, right? That's wow. Okay, that's interesting. I guess that would kind of be like me too. I suppose. But the thing for me too is I make a lot of goals like in the throughout the year as well. So for example, I make goals at the beginning of the year, but like a lot of things change. Your language learning experience is like super different. Very it changes a lot throughout the year. So like usually I have new goals that I get maybe like a certain week or whatever. Like, oh, I want to work on the subjunctive this week for whatever reason, or I keep making this mistake, this pronunciation mistake over and over again. Okay, the next week I'm going to focus on making sure I pronounce this word correctly. So I have like little mini goals throughout the year. A lot of those has a mini goals on top of my overall bigger goals, whether that's to become a Spanish to become a fluent Spanish speaker, or to increase my listening comprehension, or whatever the case may be, or read 5 books. I usually have like a lot of smaller goals too. Yo empecé a aprender español por aprendiendo sin las aplicaciones y instructor. Oh, ok. Y instructora formal. Solo quería saber un poco sobre el idioma, no el idioma. That's one of those hard ones. El idioma, pero me di cuenta que olvidé a regresar y aprender las reglas formalmente. Las reglas. Empecé a aprender español por sin aplicaciones. Ok, entiendo. Señorita Kate, saludos. Muchas gracias por venir. Good to see you. Hola, saludos desde Guyana. Thanks for coming. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo tú estás? ¿Qué lo que? How are you doing? También para todos que están entrando in ese live stream. For those who are coming to the live stream, make sure that you dale like. It's the live stream. Make sure that you give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. Suscríbete a este canal. Señorita, ¿verdad? ¿Es tu primera vez aquí para mi live stream, verdad? ¿Estás seguro que no habías estado acá una vez antes? No. I've seen you in like, I know you left comments before, como dejaste comentarios en uno de mis videos, but I thought you were in some of our live streams too, pero quizás no. And then one of my other goals, one of mis otras metas, is to finish this book, because I'm not finished with it yet. So yeah, I'm on page 100. Bueno, página 158. I have probably 150 pages to go. Yeah, 150 pages to go. So I need to finish this before the end of the year, because I started reading this book in March, but then I stopped reading it because I wanted to read. I stopped reading that one, and then I finished 2 other books, because I'm like that, where I'll stop reading one book to read other books. So I stopped reading Corazón del Blanco, and then I started to read this book, which is Short Stories in Spanish for Beginners. Then I finished this book, and then I read La Mala Hora. No, I read La Mala Hora first, was the first book I read. Then I read, Short Stories in Spanish for Beginners. And now I'm trying to get back to finishing this book. So it's actually kind of interesting because, number one, it's written by, como fue escrito por un autor español. So it's written by a Spanish author, so from Spain. So that is kind of interesting if you are looking for a book that's written by someone by an author from Spain. So it's kind of interesting. So usually when I read this book, I always try to read it with a Spanish accent. I think that's really fun. Oh yeah, and Señorita, and everybody else who's coming in, or everybody who's here, if you have not said so already, make sure that you answer the question in the poll here. Are you reaching your 22 language goals? Also, let me know, what are your 22 language goals? Let me know that in the chat. So, I mean, I guess this technically wasn't, like I was saying beforehand, I usually get goals, like language goals, randomly in the middle of the year. So I didn't have this book. When I made my goals. Yeah, when I made my goals last year, I didn't have this book, but then I bought it, and then it became a part of my goals. So that's kind of usually how it happens. Or yeah, I got like another book too, and I was like, oh, I want to read this, and then it became another goal, another language goal that I have for this year. There's like I bought like 3 or 4 other books that I'm definitely not going to finish this year. I don't know if I'm even going to finish them next year either. But I kind of just buy books and like I'm like, hopefully I'll read them one day. But sometimes I just go to like the library, or I go to like Barnes and Noble or different bookstores. I see what kind of books that may interest me, and then I buy them. But I don't always read them. But I kind of buy them just as so much more like motivation. Like, all right, I got them, and one day I'm gonna get to them. Not today, maybe not next month, maybe not this year, but maybe next year I'll get to it. But I definitely have to finish this book, because if I don't, I'm going to lose my mind. Because I started, like I said, in March, so that's been how many months? ¿Cuántos meses es esto? March 3, 3 más 7, 3 más 8, so like 8 months. I gotta stop being so lazy. I've been reading constantly, like for the past 30 days. I've been reading decently. I've been reading constantly for the most part. So I've been reading maybe like a few pages a day, which is fine for me because I'm not trying to rush. Like some days I don't have that much time to study like a whole bunch. So I just try to read just like maybe 1 or 2 pages, and that's good enough for me, because at least like I read, because it's better than I would rather read 1 or 2 pages every single day versus not read for a month at a time, or not read for 2 months, which is what I was doing. So I'm happy that I'm starting to read at least like a page or 2 pages a day, because it's actually really helpful, and it's actually very important as well. But I love to read in general. I love reading in English. I love reading in Spanish. That's one thing that I like to do. Helps me a lot with Spanish grammar, seeing in context. Like in this book in particular, it has a lot of different uses of the word K. So the word K, this one has a lot of different uses of it. So that's why I like this book a lot, because I'm learning a lot more different kind of grammar rules that way, just by reading this book. So it's helping me with creating sentences and things like that. So that's why I like reading, because you have sentences, and you have a lot of different sentences that that are written by a Spanish speaker, Spanish writer. So that's really nice to have that. So yeah, you have it right in front of you, so you don't have to guess or anything like that. You don't have to create your own sentences. This is what I usually do. If I read like a sentence, something like that, then I try to imitate it. Then I try to memorize this particular sentence that the Spanish writer has written, and that's one way that I really advance my Spanish speaking skills. Plus, reading in general just helps you a lot with memorizing things. Like if you have not noticed yet, like reading helps out a ton, because how do I put this? Por ejemplo, if I'm not reading this book, and then ¿cómo te explico? It's just for me, I guess for me personally, I don't know if it works for everybody, but just like looking visually at words and phrases in Spanish, it just gets into my memory more. And the more that I read it as well, because a lot of things repeat, right? In books, you see it over and over and over again. And then let's say, I read something last night, and then right now I'm going to think about, what did I read last night? And then it's like I can visually see, what I was reading. Not every single thing, but like some things. So I think that's like what's really amazing about reading, is that it really gives you like a nice little visual, not just of what you're reading, but also it's going to help you, not necessarily memorize, but help you remember a lot of different like words, a lot of sentence structure as well. But yeah, I love reading. And then also I found a really interesting name in this book that I've never heard before, but let me know in the chat if you've heard this name before. So I was reading this book, and then I kept seeing this one word, and I had no idea what it was. I'm like, is this a noun? Is this an adjective? I had no idea. And the word is, let me spell this correctly. What's doing? And it's the word I just put in the chat here. The word is custardoi. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. So I had no idea what this meant, and I was really confused for over like 30 pages of like seeing that word. I had no idea what it meant. But then I realized after 30 or 40 pages that custardoi is a person. So custardoi is a name of a person. I have never seen that word before in Spanish, and I was just like, well, what the heck? So that's why I like reading too, because you like just realize random stuff like that. But yeah, this book is quite interesting. I can't tell you what it's about necessarily. I don't remember all the details right now. I'm kind of just reading it kind of kind of fast. Like before, my goal for this book was to read it with a lot of analysis. That's what I like to do. I like to take a lot. I know it is, and that's funny. Yeah, it's like the most random name. I don't know what costar means. Costar is a verb in Spanish. I don't know what you know what? I have now looked it up. Let's look this up before I continue. Let's look up what costar means. I want to see if this is an actual verb. And if it is an actual verb, then this name is like two verbs combined together. Let's look up in Spanish. Spanish.com. Costar. No, okay, it's not. It's not a verb. Pero costar is a verb, but costar is not. So I don't know like where that name comes from, but I definitely want to learn about it. Pero doy, I know what doy is. If you don't know what doy is just like the first person of the first person of dar, which is to give. So very interesting name. Yeah, fun things that happen in your reading. I was gonna say something else. Oh, yeah, I wanted to like maybe put in the different uses of K. Oh yeah, so let me go back to that. So my main goal for this book originally was to do a lot of analysis. I like to do like heavy analysis when I'm reading books. So, and that says, would you like to marry a Dominicana? I mean, bueno, se puede pasar. Yo no tengo problemas con eso. ¿Y tú? La misma pregunta la misma pregunta contigo. ¿Te gustaría casarte con un dominicano o una dominicana? But my main goal for this book was to do a lot of analysis. So like to take a whole bunch of notes, like read like a few pages at a time, take a lot of notes of like whatever, like different type of details that I thought were really interesting. But that takes a lot of time going that route. I think they call it extensive, I want to say. No, or maybe intensive reading. It's like there's actually like specific names for these different types of strategies. Intensive versus extensive reading. And then the other type, and this is not looking right now for anyone. No, está bien. Toda bien. And yeah, so I was reading that way, but obviously since I haven't finished this book yet, I can't really do that. I'm not going to be able to finish this book in time with this method because it would take, I don't know, maybe like an hour or something like that to do that type of analysis. So right now I'm kind of just reading the book for almost like for fun almost. I'm just, just reading it as much as possible. I'm not really doing any notes or nothing like that. And then, maybe the second time around, I'll take some more notes. The only thing I'm doing right now really is just I write down different adjectives that I see. So I'm actually able to work on different goals with this one book. So I write down different adjectives that I'm reading this book because I do want to be more descriptive when I'm speaking Spanish. So that's the reason why I'm taking down the adjectives. So something really simple I can do, right? That doesn't take a long time. I'm reading through the book and I just annotate different adjectives. That's very simple. I can do something very simple I can do without having to take so much time to take like actual notes. So like it's kind of difficult for me to remember all the different details or to be able to explain to someone what the book is about. I mean, I'm only at page 158. I still have another 150 pages to go. Entonces todavía me queda mucho de la historia. And sometimes it takes a long time for you to understand what a book is about or like, a movie about or the TV show is about because, the story builds and builds and builds. Or even sometimes you don't even know like what the story even means. If it's like a movie or a TV show, right? Like sometimes like at the end, you're thinking like, wait, what is this all about? Or maybe if you have ever seen the TV show Lost, I don't know if you have ever seen that TV show before, but the ending literally made no sense. And then it made you question everything that happened throughout the whole TV series. Not going to spoil it, but I thought that the last episode was terrible. Anyway, not important. I'm not going to rant about that. But anyway, but yeah, the last episode of Lost, not the best. So some of the adjectives that I have written down from this book so far are really, really fun ones. I have afectuosamente, numerosos, fictiosos, razonable, infalible, irreversible, luminosa. I like that one. Irreversible, luminosa, vulnerable, dolorosamente, obsceno. I like that one a lot too. Obsceno, bronco, inquietos, abordado, improbable, espontáneo, ridícula, inevitablemente, and abundante. So those are fun, as you can see. I love adjectives in Spanish because they sound absolutely amazing, and they're usually like very long, and they sound like just super. I don't know, like they sound very important, like when a Spanish speaker is saying them. But yeah, so that's probably the only like really note taking that I'm doing. Then sometimes I underline some like sentences I want to like kind of memorize for later on. Or like for example, there's a word that I don't really know how to use, and that is aún. So what I do with that is every time I come across aún, so I guess I'm doing some kind of note taking with this book. Every time I come across aún in this book, I write it down in a notebook. So then, like right now, I have a list of different sentences that have this word aún in it. So that is what I use a lot to have more understanding of a word and how to use a word, because yeah, there's like different ways that you can use this one that's really confusing to me, but I see it all the time and I hear it all the time. So that's why I'm trying to learn it as fast as possible. AEAO says, es necesario a leer si pueda. Voy a leer mi novela pequeña 3 veces. Oh, going to read his book 3 times. Yeah, that's a good idea. I used to be very prideful because I'm a very prideful person like that when it comes to like education or whatever. But I told myself, like, I'm not going to read. I'm going to know everything. I'm going to know like every single detail about this book the first time that I read it, and I'm not going to read it a second time. I used to think like that a lot, but yeah, my mind has changed because that didn't work out. That did not work out very well. No me funcionó muy bien, porque no pude aprender cada detalle en un libro tan rápido, no. Con sola, you know, actually, I don't know how to say like, I don't know how to say like the first read. I don't know if that even like exists in Spanish. I think it would just be like como la primera vez que yo leí este libro, algo así. But I think I would definitely read this book over again because I just had too many breaks reading it this year. And I want to be able to remember more details. And also, another big goal of mine, if I'm reading a book, is to be able to explain it to somebody. That's like probably like the best goal I can think about is, you know, what am I able to comprehend what this book is talking about? Am I able to explain, you know, what this book is about as well, like the characters, you know, the locations, the plot, things like that, to a Spanish speaker? Am I able to talk about, you know, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it? For me, that's probably like one of the biggest goals because that requires, you know, a decent amount of, you know, details. You have to remember a lot of details, or the case may be. It's also a decent amount of vocabulary that's specifically related to, you know, books and stuff like that. For example, like literatura, or protagonista, or antagonista. I think what else? Una revisión and things like that. Yeah, so that's probably like another big goal of mine as well, is to be able to explain, you know, what this book means. What are the details about it? Because somebody already asked me before. It's like, oh, what is this book about? I'm just like, please don't ask me this question. We don't ask me yet. Maybe ask me in like 2 months. Right now, I can't really tell you. Como se trata de un muerte. Yo sé eso. Se trata de un muerte que pasó a una muchacha, yo creo, quizás un hombre, no sé. Pero a principio de ese libro, y como lo más que yo leo, yo veo la verdad que eso es como muy central sobre la historia en este libro, por alguna razón, pero ahora mismo no estoy seguro. Pero como la protagonista de ese libro tiene una conexión con la persona que falleció. Y también la protagonista o una de las protagonistas es un intérprete de español. Y eso es un hecho muy bien importante porque como toda la historia en este libro está de la perspectiva o es de la perspectiva de ese intérprete. Y por eso me llamó mucho la atención, por razón por la cual me encanta, ojalá en el futuro, ser un intérprete de español también. Entonces, literalmente, se trata mucho de su experiencia siendo un intérprete y también, literalmente, hay escenas, algo así, en algunos escenarios. No, ¿cómo se explica? ¿Cómo se explique? Hay algunas páginas en ese libro donde literalmente la protagonista está practicando con su cliente y está interpretando. Entonces es muy interesante para ver cómo ese tipo de aspecto de su carrera, literalmente él o la protagonista está haciendo su trabajo en esta carrera. Entonces me llama mucho la atención. So what I just did right there is what I want to be able to do, but with a lot more detail. So I was kind of trying to explain what I was reading in the book, but it was just like very, very high level, just kind of like the overall things that I remember, but it wasn't like with very specific details. I want to be able to get very detailed. I mean, like, get to talk very specifically about like the characters or what was this character like, what did this character say that was like really really weird or very interesting, and the relationships between the people as well. Oh yeah, también hay una pareja también, hay una esposa y hay un esposo también en ese libro, so I want to be able to do that, but in Spanish and with more detail and more knowledge. I don't really have that much right now. AEO says, yo averiguo lo que cada palabra significa cuando yo leo. Oh, verdad. Oh, okay. I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. I mean, probably because I understand like most of it. I mean, but there's still plenty of words that I don't understand. Como hay un montón de palabras que todavía yo no conozco, pero tampoco yo no busco porque no me importa tanto, porque todavía yo podría entender como, no sé, 70% del libro, entonces funciona para mí, no es tan importante, pero depende de lo que quiera, y también de tu nivel y cuánto tiempo has estado estudiando español también. Todo está en la perspectiva del estudiante. So AAO says, I usually like find or try to like search for different words that I don't know when I read. So yeah, there's so many different ways to read a book. So that's always I think a good thing about reading books in Spanish or reading in general is that there's not just there's not just one way of reading a book. There's amplia o amplio métodos para leer un libro. Para leer un libro, a lot of different ways to read a book. You can, take a lot of time and look up a lot of different words. Or like one thing like I used to do a lot is, I don't have my sticky note here, but I would put a sticky note on one page. I'll put a sticky note on one page, and then I would just write down. Actually, no, it's actually what I read online. Actually, one guy, this one guy did, what do you do? So he would put at the beginning of the book, he would put a sticky note or like whatever, like a long or like a piece of paper and put tape on there, and then he would write down all the different words that he didn't know. And then he would just go back and like he would read, he would continue reading, but then he would go back to that list and then he would look them up after he was finished reading. Another thing that you can do is, I read this online too. I read this online like a few years ago. Is you can highlight all the words that you don't know the first time that you read the book. Then the second time read the book, or this could be whenever you want. It could be a year, it could be like whatever, like right after. you could highlight in a different color what words you didn't know again. So then you can see the difference between how many words that you knew in the first time that you read the book from the second time that you read the book. So I think that's a really interesting idea. I like that a lot because I'm definitely all about vocabulary. But let me know. Let me know in the chat here. Sí, yo también. Eric Lobrien. Quizás no estoy diciendo tu nombre correctamente, pero solamente voy a decir Eric. It's good to see you here. Thanks for coming. Muchas gracias por venir. Ellos lo me ayuda mucho porque vas a las palabras en contexto. Oh, okay. Okay, you see the words in context. En contexto, claro que sí. La neta. Yeah, so let me know in the chat if you are enjoying this type of conversation about language goals. If you think I should do another live stream about language goals, let me know that as well. I definitely will, though. I'll do like another live stream about me like setting my goals for next year before the end of this year. So hopefully I'll try maybe this month, end of this month, or early December, I might have one of those types of videos where we can like set our language goals. We can talk about that as well. Y son palabras básicas. Qué bueno. Y también, if you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you do that. Y dale un like también. Make sure that you like this live stream as well. Share my videos with your friends. But yo quiero decir, lamentablemente que tenemos que despedirnos, que we have to say goodbye por ahora, because I got some things I gotta do. Me tengo que ir. Pero muchas gracias otra vez por venir. Thank you all again for joining this live stream. It's really fun. Como de siempre, I love having these live streams with you and having conversations about your language learning experiences and being able to share mine as well, and have this really fun conversation about everything that you're doing. Thank you, Annette. It's good to know that you thought it was wonderful. That's good. That's good to know. Good feedback. Un muy buen comentario. And if anybody needs any types of like Spanish learning resources, I have a few in the description box of this video. So I have a few books. I have a Spanish grammar book, Spanish dictionary, Spanish grammar book. Like this one, this verb book here, all in the description box of this video. So if you're interested in buying those types of resources, those are down in the description box of this video, as well, and a discount for ITALKI lessons. And then also se puede donar también. Se puede donar dinero a mi canal para soportar mi canal. You can also support my channel through donations with my Buy Me a Coffee page, and también eso está abajo. That as well is in the description box of this live stream as well, if you would like to donate and support the channel, porque eso me ayuda mucho. Pero, para terminar, mil gracias otra vez. Make sure that you continue to watch my videos, and if you have any questions about them, make sure that you leave a comment. Read my comments all the time, respond to them. So do that if you have any questions or any suggestions or anything like that. And yeah, I have some more videos coming, as usual. So make sure that you keep your eyes out for those and hit the notification bell, and you'll be able to get some notifications when I have newer videos coming out as well. If you're interested in getting that, so I can blow up your notifications. Bueno, I hope y'all have a great rest of your week, or a good start of your week, and also a great rest of your week. Make sure that you study Spanish, stay hot for Spanish. Don't stop. Don't let that fire go out. No se acabe el fuego de pasión. And sí, nos vemos muy pronto. Muchas gracias otra vez. Y adiós. Hasta luego.